Good afternoon. Let's see who we have in the classroom already with your nice hairs. So guys, we are nearly finishing. I hope you are as excited as I am. You finalized actually the main work today. You did the analysis, you did the findings. I just checked your Excel file uploads. Only 3 teams uploaded yet. If you upload it today, I mean, even now, if you feel comfortable, I will cross-check them until next week when you are doing your final presentations. Then I will also cross-check, verify your Excel file. So it's important that today they should be uploaded. Let me cross-check then by team. I think many of you here. Number 1, construction team. Are you here?
Yes, sir. Construction team.
How is it going with your full Excel file heat map? Are you finished? Did you upload?
Yes, sir. I'm about to upload it. There's still a little bit more we need to finish.
Okay.
Yes.
So it is pending. Let me put here a little mark. Education team.
Yes, sir, we are here.
Okay, how is your file doing? Finalized or pending?
Or we are doing good.
Did you upload the file in the classroom?
Not yet, Professor, because like we have to complete some the rest stuff.
Okay, while finalizing it, please cross-check also your own information. That
Yes, Professor.
a color is based on 10 different companies' input, and that those input should be logical. So no bullshit information on the Excel.
Yes,
And it should be logically reflected. So it is pending, you're saying, education. GFT team.
Yes, Professor, we are here.
And how is your Excel file doing?
Yes, we believe that we have uploaded already, sir.
Good. Tourism.
Yes, we're here, Professor.
And your file?
Pardon, Professor, I couldn't hear.
Your file is uploaded or still in development?
Oh, we have finished and uploaded it.
Good. Finance guys.
Yes, Professor.
You know
we
the question?
Yes.
You know the question?
We have finished it, but we will submit it later. We want to small adjustment.
Okay, one more check. That's also a revise. Agriculture team.
Hello, Professor.
Hello.
Yes, we are finalizing the everything, Professor.
Yet to be uploaded, right?
Yes, we are ready to be uploaded. We're just finalizing.
Okay. Energy team.
Hello, Professor. We will upload it after we present it today. We already finished it.
Okay. I think retail team uploaded, right? Is that correct?
Yes, Professor, we already uploaded.
Yes. Cool. So we have 3 uploaded teams. 1 second, I'm just taking the notes. Right. Exciting time ahead. So how did it go? You know, making these 2 pages. Is it as easy as you thought, or it took some discussions? Can I hear a few team stories?
Like we are retail team, Professor, like our synthesis didn't really go well, especially when we have to not only summarize but also give some recommendation. It took us a lot of thought and stuff to be able to come up with what we decide to present.
Yeah, that's the whole point actually for learning goal, because copy and pasting a few things is just summarizing, and this is not what the learning goal was. You know, synthesizing. Okay, we have seen everything. We talk to people, we read stuff. Okay, what is then our thinking, our own thinking, how we combine information? So I'm glad you took that path, and it's really a nice learning point. How about other teams? Tourism team, how was your discussions?
Well, with our information, we were collecting a lot of information from like big hotels and also a lot of like small local hotels. And it seems that sometimes the big hotels have like data, not data of, like from that they cover their whole business, not just in Cambodia. So it's hard to determine whether or not their like programs, their ESG programs is relevant or not in Cambodia. So that's one thing that we had to figure out, like whether should we include it or not. But as for the local hotels, we see that their ESG isn't as prominent or big as the big hotels. So that's one challenge, trying to find the balance between like the big hotels and the local hotels.
I think recommendation is very easy for you, because you now you see clearly the difference. That's how the Cambodian, I don't know, ministries or non-governmental organizations introduce ESG to smaller hotels. That would be your storyline, your recommendation. You know, big hotels are fine, but how about the small hostels? Maybe they are polluting so much for little plastics that maybe they can avoid it. We don't know. So these are the discussion starters, and I think you guys were doing a good job. GFT, it's very big industry, very low wage, and then lots of exports, lots of visibility, lots of window dressing, but in reality, is it the same? So textile team, what is your final view on your industry?
Yes, Professor, I think it is the same like what you said, although many companies have talking about this good in their website, in their news. When we did dive down, we see that there is almost problem in almost every industry, especially on the welfare and maybe fair wage for worker.
Nice. But hopefully, when we polish our presentations next week, then you have you will also include these views on your documentation. Maybe you already have on your recommendation, I don't know. Let me then start introducing what your final deliverable is. To start with, actually, how is our survey doing? We reached 100 respondents. I was hoping more, but things are not surprising. Let's start with the left top. Environmental is, according to this 100 people, is doing poor. Social areas slightly better. And people think company governance is fairly neutral and the good area. So environment is the biggest improvement area, it appears. If you look at the participants, most of the participants are basic level knowledge in the middle. Also, they think that companies are moderately exaggerating, overstating their findings, which is as expected. You see, in slightly skewed now to the. No, if you look at, actually, it is nicely distributed. It is middle is strongest findings. So basic level people think it is moderately overstating the company findings. And according to them, 5 actually production companies are doing worse than 5 service industries on left. You see, finance, education, tourism, retail, healthcare is doing relatively good. Their average score is about 3. Whereas energy, transportation, textile, agricultural, construction, they have, high, poor, red and very poor ratings. Their averages less than 3. So it's actually this perfect explanation. Service industry is doing above average. Production in the industries are doing below the average. Sounds very logic, right? And this is as we expected. And it's okay, your findings are a little bit more greenish because you are looking at the company information. Here, we are asking people, how do you perceive it? And your heat maps are probably more greenish than this heat map here. And explanation is that companies are moderately and strongly overstating their activities, right? So that would be finally my explanation if I write an article about this. So this is how I will explain. Do you also see and agree with this picture if you look at your own industry? Are there any surprising facts when you look at these responses?
I think since us retail team audit, like we observed those 10 company, I think we are a bit biased toward our observation, so it's not so poor like this. This one is a lot of.
So your findings are more green than this one. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And this is also what I'm saying, because companies are showing themselves more green than how people would perceive them. The explanation is that companies are moderately overstating their efforts. This is also one of the survey questions. So it's normal that your heat maps are better because companies are overstating their activities. Or you found companies that report them. That means they're already big, they're already focusing on them. And those in that industry, if they are not reporting it, that probably means they don't even think about it. So they are more pollutive, they are more they're not as nice to their employees as it should be for social areas. For governments, they are not maybe transparent because there is not information available. So your findings are more greenish is perfectly the normal. And these findings, just to cover or to prove that things are perceived slightly different. Maybe same question to you, retail team. Do you think this finding here is more realistic than it, or your findings are more realistic? Think about the whole Cambodia.
I believe your survey is more realistic because we only did 10 companies and our 10 companies are mostly foreign based as well. So those the whole Cambodia tend to be full of traditional market that didn't really care about ESG. So I think the survey is more like realistic.
Yes, yes. And your findings are also realistic because it reflects what the reality is in company information. So it's both true. And as scientists, academics, we are trying to show the two truths at the same time and showing them the contrast. So that's also for me a nice exercise to look at the picture from these 2.2 onwards. I still would like to insist that your teams reach out to people, relevant people, by phone, by going them, you know, getting at least 1 or 2 responses per industry. Please do that because, you know, 100 is just okay. But if we have, I don't know, 120 and coming from your industry people, then it will be actually, it's more realistic. So please do help the finding the right information. Well, today I'll briefly show the next week deliverable and we'll immediately dive into your findings. So picture is big picture is clear and you all have these pages. That's the good news. But before we dive into that, there is an important thing I must, you know, insist asking. Next week, I will ask you to improve your slide titles. Your slide titles is currently pastel analysis in this industry, right? But we want to say there something that explains actually what the slide actually explains. So homework, when I upload this presentation, please watch this video explaining how you should be putting your slide titles. Because your slide titles, when we add all together, should tell a story, like a horizontal flow. Looking at the time, maybe it would be interesting to watch this video. It's just 7 minutes. And then I could also explain things afterwards. 1 second. Maybe we will run 7 minutes out of time, but I believe it's important that we watch together and then you will watch it afterwards. Stereo.
If you're taking this course,
1 second. Right. You see the video right now on your screen? And let's see if you can also hear the sound.
One of the questions that might have drawn you into the course is the question of why do McKinsey and Bain and BCG presentations feel or look so different than everything else?
You see, I used to
So I
work for
want to
McKinsey.
unveil some of the secrets here. With the 3 core quote unquote secrets I'll teach you here, the whole goal is to avoid presentations like this. If you've ever been in a presentation where somebody's presenting a slide like this, you know how painful it is to be in the audience. Let's avoid that. So what makes McKinsey presentations different? I would argue it's something I'm calling flow, which is that the presentation is easy to digest even though it has complex information, and is presented in a way that is very easy to consume. So how does flow play out? It's 3 things. 1 is vertical flow. This is the core idea that the title is the so what. You want to use the titles in PowerPoint to really tell the audience what the takeaway of the information is and what they should do next. Second is the horizontal flow. The deck from slide to slide has a story and is part of a larger narrative and makes sense. And third is the overall flow. And this really comes together through mastering the pyramid principle and MISI concepts, which we have been hammering over and over again in this course. Finally, one thing that really sets apart presentations, especially from my experience at McKinsey and BCG, was the amount of feedback that people get. Often you're getting a ton of feedback from peers. One slide doesn't just get created and sent to a client. It's often looked at hundreds of times, and colleagues are giving people notes saying maybe you could put the title this way, maybe you could synthesize it a little more effectively. So a good lesson here is to make sure you're finding someone in your team that you trust and can challenge you to help make your content better. Vertical flow is perhaps the most important concept when building out a PowerPoint presentation. It's that the titles match the content. There needs to be an alignment between what you're actually showing in the slide and the title, which tells the audience what to think or synthesizes the information on the slide. Often people put together slides with lots of information and then add a title that's just description that says something like Q3 data, right? And then you're looking at all this information. It's just information. You don't actually know what the key takeaway or the insight is. So this is one of my favorite examples because it's done where the content has no words. But the takeaway is there's more than one way to create a square. And we show and prove this visually. Another thing to remember here is a lot of companies and just people in general are moving to a 16:9 layout. So vertical logic, I don't want to confuse you here, can also apply horizontally. The key is just what are people going to read first, right? Same thing here. There's more than one way to create a square, and then you prove it in the core of the slide again. Put the takeaway where people look first. Here's another example I love. Very simple, visual, not a lot of content. 1 out of 4 people are green, right? And then you have the content that backs this up and shows it. Horizontal flow is the second concept, and it builds on the first one. So once you have the titles matching the content, you want to make sure that your individual slides, when combined, actually tell a story. Going from slide 1 to slide 2 to slide 3 and so on. Does it actually make sense? There's a couple techniques for doing that, but the core idea is, do the titles tell the story? If they don't, you still have work to do. So an easy way to check this is just go through your slides one by one. In this, you can do this in the slide sorter view, or just flip through, or even just printing it and look at the titles. Flip through. Does it tell a story? Another way you can do this is in PowerPoint. Just go to the outline view in the top left, and you can just highlight, copy, and paste the titles to Word. And then you can start editing it as you're writing it. You can also use this to turn it into an executive summary. But the point is, just get the titles in a different format so they're easy to read and say, do these even make sense? So what does a good slide look like? Let's go through the elements that make up a slide that is solid. Now this slide is all fake data, but put together to show a couple of key principles. So let's look at it in more depth. First, the title provides a clear takeaway. It says the company is growing consistently, driven by 3 key actions. Now, that also summarizes all the information in the slide. A key thing to avoid is not having excess information in the slide. And you can confirm this by saying, does the title cover everything? If not, perhaps there's content in the slide that you don't actually need. Also in this slide, the subtitles offer clear takeaways. Instead of just saying revenue and labeling it like many charts are labeled, say revenue's quadrupled in 4 years. It gives the audience a frame of reference for the degree of change. Also, we have another subtitle, 3 key actions drove revenue growth, that frame up the 3 key reasons below. Also, we use bolding and spacing to really pull out what are the 3 key elements: geographic expansion, building out the sales team, and acquiring a competitor. Again, let's look at the slide with the shapes, and the argument is up top. There's more than one way to create a square. That's what you want to persuade the audience of, and then you have the proof in the content. And you want to use this core idea for every slide you create.
So I think you got the point, right? You have your slide titles at the moment, like this is pestle analysis, this is pipe forces, these are industry key facts and the figures. For next week, you have like 12, 13 slides, 15 slides. You need to come up with 13, 14 key sentences explaining what underneath, what in the slide. And if you can master, if you read out loud these 15 titles in a row, it should tell a story. So that is the very essence of making a consultancy presentation. You know, I'm teaching it to executive classes. People are doing 10 years everyday presentation. They still don't make it until they come to my class and to experiment that. And if you master this skill, you have another year to go. Your presentations will be really different than the rest of the team. So this is very important thing that you could master. I will have the same title and same request for each slide. You already have your industry key facts and figures, but your titles are all the same. Key facts and figures in industry. Now I want you to think by looking at the key facts and figures, saying that, wow, this is a very big industry. I don't know, this is a growing industry. This is a polluting industry that needs attention. That is a very important industry for exports, like GFT. It's like 20% of the GDP is coming from this agriculture industry. Like 7% of our GDP is coming from tourism. It's very difficult to select the right information. That's another round of synthesis going beyond the summary. I think you might have 2 pages about your industries, maybe putting some in industry best practices. And you could say, in Cambodia, we have the 8% of the income coming from tourism industry, but we are responsible for, I don't know, 18% of pollution. I'm just making this number. And then you go next slide. Whereas industry best practices are vice versa. They are less polluting in other or they're more sustainable in other countries. Same here. You have like 26 small sentences findings in your PESTEL analysis, but altogether, when you look at altogether, what is the one sentence that actually summarizes your findings? So that requires little team effort. And actually, these are the things that will make your presentations from good to better and to excellent. You all have good pages so far, all checked. They're all good. Next week, you are going to make it better. And with our little feedback for your final event presentations, open to the public, maybe your parents will see, people from industry will see, that moment will be the excellent, because then you will tweak your storylining, key messages, even more concise. Same here. Currently, you have 25 small sentences about Porter's 5 forces analysis. But if you read all 25, what can you tell? What is the outcome? And that sentence should be related to previous page key findings, also to the next one, because it's a running the messages, right? Horizontal flow. So please do watch the video again. Also revisit these slide titles once again. Here, to the audience, you show a one-pager. And make sure that in these pages, when you present, do not put the company names, because some companies may be offended. You could have as a separate page, or you could put them exactly here, company 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But in your Excel, tabs should include the company names. So don't delete company names everywhere, but only on the presenting pages. And here I give a standard explanation, adjust the text where possible. And here's very important, which 3 sentences you are going to use here. Because today you have, again, at least 15 to 30 new sentences about summaries of summaries. What are you going to put here as 3 sentences? So these are now the advanced discussions, advanced topics. So far, with your students' abilities, you deep dive information, you look information, you collect information, you present it, good. You did a great job for students, but from this point onwards, we are elevating our skill set to consulting, to try to understand what is the synthesis, what is the best sentence that explains what we are doing, and how can we impress our readers. Once again, we will show these pages. I can imagine you will tweak a bit the sentences here and there until next week, because then we will see everything. And then you will say something. And that something will come back maybe here. You see, that sentence could come from this page. Similarly, this is the one key message that can appear also here. You already have also this page, the governance page. We discussed, we gave feedback. So you will polish all the wordings. Sometimes you will make it shorter. Sometimes you will make it longer so that it's consistently explaining a story, just polishing it. And then you will think about what is the key message here. If we read everything here, what is the one thing that's actually that we can tell to the outer world? Because if they read it here, that should be the sentence. And today, obviously, you will show these the pages. You already have, you tried your first synthesis at the impact. And that synthesis will go also the previous 10 to 12 slides as well until next week. Today, we'll see how far you are going with your analysis, because key findings are also coming from these 3 pages, right? Similarly with recommendations. So far, you have all these slides ready. So polishing it, updating it, and finding the right sentence as slide title. And also next week, you need to update this page. Again, you can copy and paste these findings, because these findings here also coming from here and here. You see, you have one general story to tell, and when you have it right, and when we read it here, 6 sentences, actually it should summarize your whole research, and logically and interestingly. And here I will encourage you to think like a journalist. Imagine a journalist just ask, send me 1 pager about your research and who you are. I'll make a news about that. And this page should be clear enough about your industry, your findings, observations, and your recommendations. So selected sentences here. Maybe I will have these only 8 pages as reporting to the school committee. Like maybe our president, maybe I will say, hey, Casey, look what we have done. This is the industry report she is saying, and this is our 8 teams, our executive summary. So this page is also very important. Once again, all the polishing until next week is based on existing information. So teams should start thinking, how can we synthesize this page so that it tells a coherent and compelling story. Last but not least, next week we'll have 8 presentations and 90 minutes. So that requires actually you have 10 minutes to explain everything. So have a selected pages. you know, maybe one page about industry facts, maybe quickly another 1 or 2 minutes about external environment, and maybe immediately going to summary analysis. So it's up to you how to use the slides. And try to make it as clear as possible in 10 minutes. So that's also the challenging exercise. So that requires one final team week, one maybe for content, and one team meeting with 1 hour or 2 for presenting. Who's presenting, which pages, and how long does it take? So select 1 or 2 presenters. Not everyone has to present. So 1 or 2 will do. Maybe 1 is too little. 2 is maybe just right. 3 is okay if you wish. So that we have a rehearsal before you go to a larger audience. When we have an event, last year's we did in classroom, but also open streamlined on Facebook, so that even your parents could come or see your presentation online. So next week we'll finish it, and then we'll select a moment in July after your exams, a presentation day. So far, I think I explained what needs to be done. Any questions? Any clarifications? All right.
Professor,
Let's
can I
then.
ask-
Yeah,
Can I ask one question?
sure.
Do we have to present online or at class?
Next week it will be online, and the event day will be in class, but it will be announced. It will be somewhere in July, so we don't know. Maybe in August, I don't know. It will be separately announced. Then you will be in class, and hopefully you will get your certifications, etc., in the classroom. Who knows? Maybe I will be there if I travel to Cambodia. Finally meet you. But that is the less the worry. But next week will be again here on Zoom. Right. If there aren't any other questions, I'd like
Thank
to
you,
actually.
Professor.
Let's dive into your summary analysis and key recommendations. And we have now like 45 minutes, let's say less than an hour for 8 teams. Who would like to start?
Professor, retail team would like to start first.
Yes, my favorite team, retail team.
Professor, can you see our slide?
Yes.
We have fixed all the previous information, and here are what we have fixed, and we have come up with the synthesize for the our retail in Cambodia and the future state that recommendation as well.
Okay, today we are not trying to read out loud everything. Try to summarize, try to tell a story, because we see what is written there.
Yes, Professor. Wait a second, Professor.
Good evening, Professor. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yes, so we will start with the summary ESG analysis in retail industry. And so after making adjustments and corrections to our previous 1 pages, we have synthesized all of the information to today's paper as follows.
Okay, one little question. You see, what is the main conclusion in one short sentence? Question is still remaining there. So I was hoping teams put there the sentence, the main conclusion in one short sentence.
Oh, Professor, we thought we will like change the title next week, and we only like speak it out loud for this week.
Okay.
We'll fix it.
Fair enough. But you see my point, right? If you adjust the key titles, then you immediately understand what it is. And I know it is not difficult. It is not easy. You know, the instruction is easy. You know, make a synthesis, but making synthesis is not easy. So that's why spend some team time on that. Right. Go ahead, please.
And so for the environmental aspect, we believe it is fair and neutral. For the resource efficiency, based on the 10 companies chosen, all of the foreign companies have a better resource efficiency and higher awareness in ESG compared to Cambodian companies. This is due to lack of public awareness in Cambodian market for ESG requirements, resulting in poorer resource efficiency. And as for climate change, there's a higher emphasis on dealing with climate change throughout the companies, as many have adjusted their architecture, packaging, and suppliers to fit better with the ESG requirements. Although there are cases such as the central market, which has poor actions against the climate change, the overall trend seems to be positive. And as for waste management, most of the malls except Central Market have implemented a waste management system that allows for easier recycling and dividing of waste, increasing the efficiency of their waste management and reducing the waste produced. However, some companies do not focus on waste management as much as prioritizing profits over sustainability. And now moving on to the social aspects, we believe it is doing fine. It is good. The diversity and equality, despite the lack of transparency in the diversity and equality actions, most companies have diverse workers from various age groups, ethnicities, and do not seem to discriminate based on gender. Some companies, such as Body Shop and Decathlon, also have programs to increase the diversity in their workplace, increasing the equality in their business. And on to stakeholders and community. Most companies have programs and actions that give back to their community and major stakeholders. Outside of prioritizing profits, they care about the environment and employees as they provide benefits and training to their staff. Toyota, Aeon Mall, and Decathlon have various partners and initiatives to support their community, showing their commitment to their various stakeholders. Labor law and conditions, all of the companies adhere to the minimum legal requirements for the labor regulations. Furthermore, some companies such as Aeon Mall and Chipmunk provide benefits to their employee to improve their working conditions and create a better working environment in their workplace. However, places like Central Market didn't really provide extra benefits, making workplace conditions undesirable compared to others, especially when most of the sellers there are mostly operating the traditional way. On to the governance aspect. We believe it is fair and neutral. For business ethics, most companies follow the ethical codes of conduct in operating their business as they have sustainable business practices, good work environment, and ethical suppliers. However, most business stops at the minimum requirements, and there are none that fully go through with the actions through other philanthropic actions, which could also be an improvement in this area.
Okay.
Regulatory compliance.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
Look, we don't have 10 minutes for each team. You already have 5 minutes, and you don't even finalize your 1 page. So I have to here interrupt, like I will do other teams as well. Look, if you had synthesis and key message already here as the homework, you could just talk about that and you could do in 1 minute the slide. Now you are reading out loud every sentence that we already see it here. So that's my whole point from the beginning. Now I have to be more clear to every team. You know, I don't want to hear what I already see here in 10 minutes. That's the whole point of thinking about the synthesis, key messages, so that you talk about your key messages rather than reading out everything. Now you understand why it is important, right? Because it's like 6 minutes, we are in 1 page. That means you in the next page, another 6 minutes, 12 minutes in 2 pages. Next week, you have total 10 minutes for 12 pages. So this is an important homework. How are you going to communicate it? You will focus on your key messages rather than every detail here. So that is very, very, very important. Let's go to next page and you have 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. I'll pass it on to my classmate.
Yes, you did a good job by explaining it, but we need then 60 minutes per team next week if we go with this tempo.
Okay, so Professor, this will be about our future state of retail industry, what we can recommend to them. The first one is that in environment, we recommend that Cambodian business should adopt solar energy for cost saving, because according to what we have seen is that the worldwide best practice one currently of the base is IKEA installed solar panel that aim for 100% renewable energy by 2025. And this would save Cambodian a lot of money and also the renewable energy. The second one is that the waste reduction, which is H&M garment collecting program. We recommend that Cambodian could start collecting those waste, especially for garment sector, that there are a lot of waste each year, since fashion is well known that we will change a lot every month, or sometimes events like by week there will be new fashion. And also the last one for environment recommendation is that future Cambodian retail should adopt water saving technique to conserve water. Not future, but even from now on, especially a lot of there are a worldwide best practice Waterless by Levi that they save over 3 billion liters of water. That this could be the future state of our retail industry. The next one is social worldwide best practice that we could provide to the industry is that Cambodian retail should improve hygiene and product quality standard. We believe that a lot of stores has started improve this hygiene and quality standard. But since we have the worldwide best practice from what we have seen, the whole food market, they use a high quality standard and promote healthy lifestyle. This is show that they care for the consumer and also for the social, and they would be making more money and getting more customer by caring about customer health as well. The second recommendation that we could provide to them is promote diverse hiring, establish council for diverse employee group. This is like when we have the council for diverse employee group, there will be people speaking up for them. A lot of business outside already have this, but Cambodia still lack of this established council for diverse employee group that make a lot of employee believe that they have no one behind them. So if Cambodia future retail will be able to establish this, they would like bring more diversity and workplace diversity into the Cambodian retail. And governance, we have that ethical practice by Apple that I think Cambodia should enforce ethical standard and audit supply chain. Like Apple, they has a strict supplier code of conduct, not only with supplier, but also for the whole business ethic. And if Cambodia, most of Cambodia business from our observation, we believe that there aren't many like code of conduct or any business ethic beside the foreign companies. So we would like to recommend Cambodia to start enforcing ethical standard and audit supply chain. The next one is that we expected that there will be increase in transparency, regular ESG reporting, especially like Walmart, they also publish detailed ESG reports. So starting from this 2024, I also see a lot of Cambodia like government start bringing this ESG into the light and talk about ESG a lot, even in our class. So we believe that future retail will be able to increase this transparency with their ESG reporting. The last one is our risk management and compliance. It is one of the worldwide best practice that has right now is from Tesco, and we believe Cambodia retail should adopt this robust risk management practice so that not only for their business but also for our environment. And our one key message is that Cambodia should start adopting a lot of worldwide best practice so that our industry could improve in the future state. Thank you, Professor.
Okay, so this is a very good example. Like it take 10 minutes to explain 2 pages. So why consultants are doing a better presentations? Because they don't spend 5 minutes for each presentation. So this is your main information. It's brilliant. Everything is correct. Everything is nice. But I can read it in 2 minutes. But you explain it 12 minutes, and this feedback is valid for all teams, right? It's not for only retail. So the challenge is next week, you try to make it, let's say, 1 minute per slide. You will have like 12 content slides. Try to make it in 12 minutes or 13 minutes, not more than 15, because we'll spare 2 hours for the final presentations. Focus on key best practices, key recommendations, maybe in a nice sentence that you could just explain. Because here is the underneath what we see here is the evidence, but we don't need to hear evidence sentence by sentence. You just explain what is the conclusion. Yeah, you can do it in a couple of minutes. So that is a good exercise. Thank you for joining the conversation as volunteer. And let's see how other teams will do.
I will stop sharing. Thank you.
So you have, let's say, 2-3 minutes per slide. Don't read out everything. Just give us, look, I already see key messages appearing. I think this team will do a good job by managing it.
Greeting, Professor. Can you see it?
We can see.
Yeah.
Just make it full screen and
Yes.
start talking.
Okay. Yes, this is. Greeting, Professor. We are from the GFT, the government team. Okay. So without further ado, I would like to start with the environment. So for the garment industry in Cambodia, it makes some effort to be more eco-friendly by using recycled material, energy-saving technology, and renewable energy source. However, it is difficult to assess the true impact of this effort because there's a lack of transparency in how this factory manage the resource, their supply chain, and waste. For social, while some factories promote gender equality and support community, there's a widespread of concern about the low wage, discrimination, and limitation on worker rights. So transparency around the labor practice and community engagement is also lacking. For governance, while some factories promote sustainability and worker well-being, accusation of poor wage, right violation, and greenwashing raise concern. And a lack of transparency across all aspects from resource use to community engagement make it difficult to assess the real impact. So yeah, that's it for the struggle. And as for our recommendation for environment, so first is to publish a detailed sustainability report that need to be more clarity and adopt a safer dyeing practice that minimize the water usage and chemical waste, also crucial. And also utilize the technology AI to optimize the production and explore renewable energy source like solar power, would significantly reduce the impact on environmental. For social, they should prioritize the worker well-being, guarantee the fair wage, respecting worker rights, and providing a safe and healthy work environment. And also to strengthen their tie to local community by sourcing material locally, supporting the disaster relief effort, and donating to charitable cause. And for lastly, governance, it recommends to have independent audit, a strong anti-corruption code, and a clear KPI for social and environmental responsibility that ensure the transparency and accountability. And also regularly measuring and reporting on this metric should have a continuous improvement. Thank you. That's it for my presenting.
I like your synthesis because when you have it, it is very easy to actually also explain it in 4 minutes rather than 12 minutes. So this is a compliment for GFT team. You use nice synthesis and then you focus on main messages rather than reading out everything. This is a good example. Other teams, please also follow similar way of writing and explaining things. Use your pages as evidence, but your voiceover should be about the key messages that also visible in your slides. Good job. Who's next?
Professor, our construction team would like to go next.
Just upload, share screen and start talking. You see, you don't have the one short sentence is not there. It's
We will add it later.
okay. You have 1 minute for this slide, 1 minute for the other slide.
So I'm Green Professor and hello everyone. I'm John Nai from Team 1 Construction Team. And this is our synthesis by sector of ESG. So from what we have observed so far, we can draw a conclusion that construction firms are doing fairly in the environmental sector with poor resource management and sustainable practice because the majority of materials are imported and companies lack of waste management. Even though they take initiatives to promote the 3R for a greener ecosystem, and even though environmental regulations EIA are set, enforcement is still not very desirable. However, companies tend to do better in social responsibility. So when balancing their economic interests and public interest, construction firms contribute to the economy through significant donations and CSR, which will not only create the share value, but also enhance their reputation, their brand image, and contribute to the overall economic development of Cambodia. And the firms value diversity, inclusion, and equality. However, there are some challenges of traditional norms or self-interest in the sector. For example, perhaps female, they have less interest in construction than males. So that's why firms are mostly male-dominated. And most construction companies try to build their external image to look good by committed to CSR, while the internal image is different. Some workers face excessive working hours or inadequate compensation from the company. And for construction governance practice, we would say it's very poor, especially transparency. Some firms may adhere to ethical standards, particularly those involved in international projects, that complying with international norm is a must. However, for many local firms, they continue to operate in a less transparent and accountable manner. And there are very little firms which are actually and fully complying with the law requirements by the government. And to address the issues, can we go to the next slide? Okay. So to address the issues and enhance the greater construction sector, there should be a few recommendations to take into account. First and foremost, construction firms should prioritize local materials and utilize advanced software for material predictions so that they can minimize excess purchasing and waste. For instance, in Australia, Lendlease has used up to 80% of local materials, which not only support Australian economy and environment, but also set a benchmark for sustainable construction practice. And in the UK, they implemented an inclusive recruitment that improved 20% female hires and 50% of ethnic minority hires over 5 years. So perhaps Cambodia construction firms should practice these strategies and put more emphasis on working conditions, such as employment contracts, working hours, and safety training based on the labor law. And workers can form or join trade unions like the BWTUC, which is known for Bedding and Woodworker Trade Union Federation of Cambodia. Is a NGO that's help workers demand fair treatment. And for governance sector, government should develop policies to define all practice and make a systematic process for all firms to obtain accessory permits. And government agencies should be assigned to inspect all the documents and oversee operations at the construction sites. Like in Singapore, they have a building and construction authority to regulate the construction industry. So they will oversee the construction. They will oversee the license and certification required for construction activities to ensure that only the qualified one can undertake the construction projects. So we would recommend that Cambodia construction firms should proceed in that way as well to have a better defined framework. And this is also the end of our presentation. Thank you, Professor.
Okay, thank you. It takes long. In your final presentations, maybe you could skip you could only show the previous ESG pages, just 10 seconds. We have done the analysis for environment. This is the key message. We have done the social key message, and then you move immediately these summary pages to present to save time. Do you understand what I'm saying? To all teams. So next week, try to focus your presentation times. Let's say 10-12 minutes. Industry key facts and figures. Very briefly, macro environments, and then your key findings and key recommendations. So make the time useful for us, because today we are running way more than required. Okay, who's next?
Professor, education team would like to start.
Higher education, welcome.
Greeting, Professor and everyone. We are from Group Education, and today I will briefly summarize the ESG analysis in higher education industry. For the environment in public higher education institution, first a sustainability challenge due to an aging infrastructures and large student population, leading to a significant energy consumption and carbon emissions. However, they are increasingly adopting the sustainability measures like cloud-based learning, digital programs, eco-friendly waste management to mitigate these challenges. These include reducing the paper use, promoting student recycling, and implementing the efficient waste management practice. Now let's move to the social. Cambodia higher education provided equal access to all, but yet face challenges due to entrance exam and higher fee in the private university, which are favorable for the middle class students. Despite this, universities are actually collaborating with the local entity to break this gap by offering clubs, soft skill training, and charity events. This initiative aims to enhance the student opportunity and community engagement while developing both soft and technical skills that is essential for workforce through the various programs and competition. For the government, higher education prioritizes student development through the various avenues such as volunteering opportunity, maintaining clean facility, and also upholding the exam integrity. The regulatory compliance is overseen by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport, which we call MOE, and responsible for the licensing and accreditation committee of Cambodia to ensure the quality standard. Moreover, the transparency pursued through the dissemination information SBA website and report, yet some universities still struggle with the transparency due to the limited resource.
Okay,
Thank you,
let's hear
Professor.
about recommendations.
Yes.
Interesting, Professor. I am Yan and I will be presenting our recommendation. For environment, we would like to recommend the higher education institution to adopting sustainable practice like solar panels, energy efficient appliance, and encouraging alternative transportation. Furthermore, promoting recycling and to use the use of reusable material have to conserve resources and divert waste from landfills. By integrating sustainability practice into daily lives, institution can inspire students to become environmentally conscious leader in their future career and personal life. And for social, we would recommend higher education institution to promote diversity and inclusion by creating a welcoming environment for all students to foster a richer learning experience. Affirmative action and cultural exchange program ensure diverse perspectives are represented and experienced firsthand and promoting empathy, while bias training equip faculty to recognize unconscious bias, creating a fairer environment for all. Equipping students with technical skill is equally important. Prioritizing the skill fill in demand job and strengthening the talent pool, benefiting both graduate and economy. And as for governance, although they are doing good in this area, there are still room for improvement. We would like to recommend the higher education institution to strengthen their regulatory compliance and transparency and have a clear governance structure with a well-defined roles and responsibility to solidify their role as stewards of public resource and ensure responsible use of fund and ethical decision making. In addition, funding diversification, foster autonomy, and allowed for faculty development programs. And finally, engaging stakeholders to create a feedback loop for improvement the quality of the education. And this all for our recommendation.
Okay, so you change the colors. This should have been blue, and previous one should have been orange, but you're still using the green. Just
Yes, we will change it.
Yeah, because it's less important if you're only team as making this presentation, but if people are watching it, they should recognize when they see orange, they see, okay, these are the observations. When they see green, these are your findings. And when they say blue, they say, okay, these are the recommendations. So try to be, same as the other teams. Very small detail. Good job. Next team, please.
Professor Agriculture would like to go next.
Hello, Professor.
Industry, yes. Hotel. Tourism.
Hold on a minute, Professor. Okay, so I'm from the in tourism industry. So this is our summary of ESG, specifically for hotels. So for environment, our important sentence here is that big hotels often do more eco-friendly practices than smaller hotels due to their size and their budget. For resource efficiency, we can see that most hotels are always trying to do more efficient practices, not because of environmental reasons. Sometimes they just want to cut down costs. So also like big hotels, the small hotels, they are doing implementing a lot of systems to cut costs as well as be more efficient with their resources. For climate change, this is where there's a big gap between the big hotels and the small hotels. Big hotels, they are reducing their carbon output. They have reports where they're actually doing that. While smaller hotels, especially in Phnom Penh where we interviewed them, they really they couldn't afford the systems, or they can't afford to care about the climate change in Cambodia because you're trying to make a living. For waste management, we can see that hotels are recycling a lot, especially the big hotels like Hyatt and Marriott. They are.
Okay, hold on. I will insist on you focus on your main message and give a few examples rather than reading out every single sentence that I said like trillion times from the beginning. You have nice synthesis on top line. One small suggestion, look, you change the bold letters and you say resource efficiency synthesis, climate change synthesis, waste management synthesis. You don't have to write this synthesis. Either just put resource efficiency, put the synthesis sentence because it is synthesis, or delete them altogether, like resource efficiency synthesis, delete and use only the sentence.
Okay.
So two options. And when you are explaining, please do focus on your big message, like what in bold, and then give a few sentence examples and not read out every single the words, because I can read it. And that is the skill set that we are working on. You are doing great as a student, but I want you to be a successful consultant. And consultants don't read out everything. Okay, move to social. You're saying diversity is prevalent in industry as well as community engagement. What do you mean by that? Just explain rather than reading out these things.
Okay, so moving on to social. So a lot of our business that we've researched and we interviewed with is actually doing a really good thing, including a lot of diverse employees as well as serving to a lot of diverse customers. And there's a lot of community engagement as well. They're always trying to donate charity, and it's relevant against with their social media platform as well. This is where they're showing that they actually do care, and that especially education with big hotels, there's always trying to teach new skills to new workers, especially in Cambodia, where some hotels, they actually do have programs that raise people into business management and hospitality. So this is the big thing. So I would like to highlight about diversity, and we're doing as well in training and giving skill sets back to the community, especially.
Okay.
And
how are they doing with governance?
For governance, most of the research that we've done, it only states that they are complying with regulations, especially with the Ministry of Tourism. And for business ethics, only the big hotels are showcasing their business ethics, not really the small hotels, because they don't really understand the importance of business ethics as a marketing perspective. So we can say that for governance, most of the hotels are following with regulations, following the law, but only the big hotels are dealing with business ethics.
Excellent. You see, when we have a conversation, you talk like a consultant. When you present, you act like a student. So you have the ability, you all have the ability, but I want you to change this mindset. Stay out of your student's mindset, be a consultant, be a journalist. Like imagine you presented in the TV screen. You try to convince the general managers about your findings. You see what I mean? To everyone.
Yes, I understand.
And you are the perfect example. You were just students 2 minutes ago. I ask you one question, you start talking about like a businessman, like a consultant, like an expert. So trust that skill, and everyone can do that. So practice for the next week, both your key messages on your presentations, also your explanations. Practice it and act like a businessman, consultant. Forget about being a student, because you are good students anyway. That's check. Let's try to be a consultant. Good example. Really, my compliments how you switch. Good job.
So I would like to move on to best practices, which my teammate will cover.
Yes, that should be even shorter and even more flowing.
Good afternoon, Professor. So the main message for the future state of ESG in tourism industry can be described as sustainable, responsible, and inclusive tourism practices will become the new industry standard, driving long-term value for businesses, communities, and the environment. It means that the tourism industry is undergoing a fundamental shift towards a more sustainable and responsible model of operation. So in the future, ESG principles and practices will become the industry's standard and no longer just optional initiatives, but it is an essential component to running a successful business. And to meet these evolving expectations, the tourism industry have to prioritize the key, the worldwide best practices that are usually done by big hotels. So for the environment, hotel companies, climate-related initiatives typically focus on 4 key areas, as in energy efficiency, carbon emissions or water conservation, and waste reduction. And for energy efficiency, like hotels aim to reduce.
You don't have to then explain everything in detail. You see, you have time limitations. You give us 4 examples. Nice. Move on social.
Okay, for social initiatives worldwide impact 3 categories of people: their communities, employees, and partners. So the hotels industry social objectives typically comprises of wellness, diversity, equality, and inclusion, income equality, and employee compensation. And for the governance, corporate social responsibility and sustainability are built upon governance within hotel companies worldwide. So governance affects how resources are utilized and ensures companies comply with the laws and regulation. So that means transparency in ESG reporting on overall waste and emission is key to create a more sustainable practice. And so to sum it up, by fully integrating these ESG principle and strategy, the tourism industry of the future will deliver a more positive outcome for the planet, local communities, and all stakeholders involved, which means that sustainable, responsible, and inclusive tourism practices will become the new industry standard and driving long-term value for success. And that is all for our presentation.
Okay, you see the difference between previous slide and this one is different. Previous slide has synthesis. Here, you don't have synthesis. Previous slide has key messages. Here, not. This is also very typical for students because you say, I make this page, I make this page, I present this. And then when we see next to each other, we see discrepancies. And that is completely normal for students. This is what students do. I was doing the same when I was students. That's nothing to worry about. Next week, you will polish them and you will make it like a very fluent and similarly designed the pages. It is not anymore, it is my page, it is your page. So you have 12, 13 brilliant slides that you can talk about it in 12 to 13 minutes. With look and feel is the same. Language is similar, key messages flow logically. So that is the polishing work for next week. It is also a very good example, an excellent student example, but we need to move from student to consultant until next week. And you are nearly there. Good job. Who's next?
Thank you, Professor.
Good evening, Professor. I'm David from Team Finance. So I will start with the environmental part. Financial institution in Cambodia.
Hold it. When I see it, you should start with your key message because you have a nice key messages in all 3 areas and you have a nice title as well. So if you only read out the key sentences, actually you're done. So try to start with explaining what you mean in the top line, your key message.
Yes, Professor. I will do a short conclusion at the end of each part.
No, it is top-down communication. I want you to talk about this top sentence and then your main messages for each area rather than bullet points.
Yes, yes. So for environmental,
No, you're not listening. I want you to start talking with the key message. Key message is on top. It is not environment. It is the finance industry in Cambodia is your key message. So talk about that.
So for our industry key message is that after interview with a few financial experts, we came to conclude that the financial industry is demonstrating a strong commitment to ESG practices, especially in their social and governance part. But there's still room for improvement for the environmental. So allow me to start with the environmental part. Financial institutions in Cambodia are leveraging digital banking to enhance financial inclusion and to meet customer demand through mobile and online platform. They try to minimize resource usage, support renewable energy projects, and offer green loans. Therefore, we can see that sustainability is integrated into their projects. Socially, they are doing a great job. These institutions promote gender equality, support women entrepreneurs, and provide equitable loans to all customers regardless of gender, disability, or race. They collaborate with non-profits for healthcare and education and engage in extensive CSR activities, and employee welfare benefits are also included. Governance rights, they receive excellent score. They ensure ethical practices by complying with national laws and regulation, maintaining a code of conduct, and promoting transparency through regular reporting. They also commit to ethical investment practices and financial inclusion through community environmental projects. So back to the interview that we did with a few experts in the financial industry. And based on their comments and our research into the ESG practices, it appears that the report are generally accurate, but they may have slightly exaggerated certain aspects. So,
wonderful. You see, now you are talking like a consultant. You started as a student, you end like a consultant. That is what I wanted to see. It is happening. So trust your abilities to talk freely about what you already put as a slide title here. Also practice it for other courses. Great job. Okay, what are the recommendations? Let's talk about recommendations.
Yes, Professor, I would like to pass it on to my friend for the recommendation part. Thank you, Professor.
Good job.
Next page. Greeting, Professor. So in terms of the best practices, financial institutions should put more effort into more environmentally conscious and continue their effort in the social and governance compliances. So for environment,
I got the point already in one sentence.
Yes. So for the environmental aspect specifically, we encourage that Cambodia financial industry could maybe incorporated the ASEAN Sustainable Finance Taxonomy, which they already have a unified framework for categorizing in terms of economic activities based on the environmental and social impacts. And there's also the ASEAN Social Cultural Communities that help to address any climate change activities and biodiversity conversions. And especially with Singapore Green Finance Action, they have set out a guidelines and initiative for green bonds and loans. So maybe Cambodia can implement similar initiative to create more green bonds and aiding the climate-friendly projects. And in terms of social, the Cambodia is doing financial industry is doing good. However, we recommended they integrated the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that already been adopted by many countries like the US, Canada, or UK and Australia. So to increase more underrepresented groups in the workforce, simply they can start with like conduct regular pay audits to identify any pay disparity and ensure more transparency in compensation and that all the employees are compensated fairly. And they could also invest in
more underserved communities through grants, donations, and even implementing supplier diversity program to ensure that the company procurement practices actually support those businesses. Now, in terms of corporate governance, from our interview, they had stated that what similarity is that although the firm have the ethics committee in place, not many of the employees are actually aware of the code of ethics of the firm. So we recommended that they establish a more robust ethics committees to assess and evaluate the ethical issues and practices, and especially conduct awareness trainings for all the employees to understand ethics.
That's very good. Awareness training. That's very brilliant recommendations that they should follow. And I also very like your synthesis sentences. You know, it explains what you mean on top, and also your key messages for each three area summarizes what you are actually telling it underneath. So this is a good examples. Other teams, you know, try to come up with similar pages, similar synthesis, and your recommendation is very important. Just underline it, put it in more emphasized. You know, awareness training is used in I don't know X countries. That's very easy to implement in Cambodia. Very good job. So let's move to the next team. You also presented very lively. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Two more teams. I'd like to, you know, put you on the dinner table on time. Let's go.
Okay, so Team Energy will go next. Wait, let me share the slide. All right, so this is Team 7, Team Energy. We believe that the energy industry in Cambodia, which there are many various factors in order to improve, in order to ensure the sustainability and social responsibility for the whole community. First thing first, for the environment, we believe that the energy industry somehow now showed a strong commitment to combat the climate change. However, we believe that the energy industry shall conduct more effectively in terms of waste reduction. Secondly, in terms of the social, we can see how the energy industry is now trying to promote the diversity and equality, especially among the people from diverse background. However, somehow the energy industry, they also shall maintain their highest standard in the safety and welfare for the people, as well as how they are trying to promote the diversity as a whole. And lastly, in terms of the governance, we believe that energy industry is now doing good in order to they are having the good commitment to the business ethics or the ethics overall. However, we believe that the company, like the overall energy industry, they also trying to focus on the regulatory compliance, such as audit, as well as many other regulation as well. Now, moving on to the recommendations, we believe that the energy industry.
Oh, time. Slide back. You could read this text in 15 minutes. But you explained beautifully in under 3 minutes, under 2 minutes. That's a good job.
Thank you, Professor.
So just take time, because I said rush. Don't rush things to be very, try to say it fast. You know, take your time, explain it clearly, but without using not too many words. So that's also another recommendation to everyone.
Yes.
You can do either very hastily so that we get, are you going to finish it on time? Or you select your words and then you explain calmly, and then we still get the best of best ideas. This is a good example. Let's move to recommendations now.
Okay, thanks. Now moving on to the recommendation, we believe that the energy industry in Cambodia, they shall focus more in terms of the sustainable, ethical, and transparent energy practice in order to promote a greener and fairer future for Cambodia as a whole. First thing first, for the environment, we believe that the energy industry in Cambodia, they should use more in terms of clean energy such as solar and wind. Meanwhile, at the same time, they shall start saving the energy by using the smart technology that has already been existing. Secondly, in terms of the is social, the energy industry in Cambodia, they should promote the fair access to clean energy for all people, despite their background, as well as especially when it's come to their family economic background, as well as the energy industry as a whole. They should remain creating local jobs for people in order to improve the community employment, as well as educating people about sustainable energy in term of how to use the solar wind energy as well. Lastly, in terms of the governance, we believe that the energy industry, they shall maintain their regulatory compliance and be transparent about what they have been practicing, because we believe that the energy industry, they should maintain their clear policy implementation about the clean energy, as that is very significant for the current context in Cambodia. That's all for our team. Thank you.
Yes. What I see in this page, there are a few items are missing. You see, we had 3 items in your bigger pages and 3 items in your observations. So we would expect 3 items in your recommendations.
Yes,
So
we'll
that
work on that.
that is your improvement area until next week. I'm sure you can do it, because what I see, your team is capable doing that. So until next week, finalize everything and make sure to all teams again, these sentences are also similarly visible in the previous pages. Because the sentence here actually may be the key information of your social page. Those key messages should be coherently copy and pasted or similarly used. That is to feedback to every team. All right, good job. Lastly,
Yes, thanks,
agriculture.
Professor.
Agriculture team.
Yes, Professor. Can you see my screen, Professor?
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to our agriculture. So the agricultural industry in Cambodia is at an early stage of ESG, and it's need an improvement to strengthen its practices. So for environment, so it needs to strengthen it into a sustainable businesses, because that the industry is currently struggling with resource efficiency. So as for traditional farming practice is still ongoing, it's often rely heavily on energy intensive machinery and poor energy management as well, which lead to a very high consumption. And additionally to that, there is also an inefficient water usage that can deplete vital resources. And due to that, the high usage of old machineries and also energy intensive machinery, it's also led to climate changes. Because of that, they contributed more to greenhouse gases, and with the lack of eco-friendly packaging option, it's also increased the industry environmental footprint as well.
Okay,
And
my question, in all 3 areas, you use poor resource, poor efforts, poor performance, and then I see a fair neutral label on top. That's a little discrepancy, right?
Yes, Professor.
Either adjust the color or adjust the wording, because I see in the also in your screenshots, yeah, there are reddish areas, greenish areas, fair colors. Make sure these are coherent in the final presentation next week, all right?
Yes, Professor, because of the fact that there are different companies and some have implemented all the ESG well, but the others are not. That's why it's a mix of.
Then adjust the wording. Then you could say, although a few companies are adjusting fairly, there are majority doing poorly. You see, that's the coherency we are looking for at the end. All right, very quickly, social governance, and then you are the last team.
Okay, Professor. So as for social, there's we can see that there are some companies implemented these diversification, and we can see more women and also minority groups that contributed their talents and skills as well. However, there are also companies that are still implemented gaps and also limited and equal opportunity. So therefore, we think that there should be initiatives that promote equal access to leaderships and also opportunity role as well. And as for stakeholders and community, here's like the biggest challenges. So communication and then collaboration with stakeholders are still limited, which included local communities, NGOs, and also consumer. So So we believe that by engaging and actively engaging with all those stakeholder, the agriculture industry can create more partnerships and benefits both sides, and also improve.
Here another thing I noticed. In the social, you say diversified, implemented the law efficiently. Sounds like positive, and then if I see the color, it is poor. You see the sentence and color and observations are not quite coherent. So making more explanation, your sentences should be clearly reflecting your heat map, also your final color that you put here. So that is the team homework. So you have every information, but I see here and there not coherently presented. Either sentence versus color, heat map versus sentences needs to be streamlined. So that's the polishing until next week. Let's see recommendations immediately.
My friend will be responsible for that, Professor.
Okay.
Good evening, Professor. So when it comes to worldwide best practices, we see that in the environment sector, to achieve environmental sustainability, there has been implementation of sustainable farming practices such as integrated pest management, crop rotation, and adherence to certification programs, which will reduce pesticide use, lower costs, and protect ecosystem. For example, implemented currently in India, which is a good thing. And for social, to promote social responsibility, we can see that there are fostering of workforce inclusivity and fair treatment through diversity programs and transparent community engagement, while also enhancing labor condition, wages, and social protections for agricultural workers, which is actually good. However, for governance, we take a neutral stance because we saw that despite the maintenance of ethical and sustainable operation through promotion of fair labor practices, responsible sourcing, and strict legal compliance, there is a lack, not transparency of record keeping to build stakeholder trust. And thus conclude on the essence of best practices and key recommendation across ESG in worldwide best practices.
Okay, here what I see, you have 2 bullet points each, whereas observations are 3 bullet points, and you have 3 areas also in the bigger pages. Also make sure these are parallel. You have 3 pages 3 areas in an environment. Then you have 3 observations and 3 recommendations. So that coherency is also important for next week. I see that you have good recommendations, but I still don't see what is one final and a nice key recommendation in environment. Titles should be the synthesis, and synthesis should be coherently connected to each other. So that is the biggest message until next week. So thank you for that. Looking at the time, I think we need to closing it up. So what you will do, you are nearly finishing the course. Good job, congratulations, almost. So update, polish your Excel files, make the colors coherent and logical, and that is finalized and reflected on your presentations by disguising the name of the companies. And then you cross-check every titles in your presentation, whether that title really explains everything underneath. And then most difficult one, when you only read key messages, is it a coherent story? So watch the video in the that we have seen. Watch again. I will upload this presentation immediately after the closing it. So give it a good push. One last week the push before your exams, and then let's celebrate next week. Brilliant presentations done under 15 minutes. And then and hopefully we'll see each other somewhere in July and proudly presenting it to the rest of the world. Any remaining questions before we close the session? All right, then I wish you a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next week, Thursday again. Bye, take care.